Now, closing arguments are set to begin today in the federal hate crimes trial of the three men convicted of killing Ahmaud Arbery. Greg McMichael, his son Travis McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan are charged with hate crimes and attempted kidnapping. The Department of Justice has alleged the men confronted Arbery because of his race. Last year, the men were convicted on state charges for Arbery's murder, and they each received a life sentence. This Wednesday marks 2 years since Ahmaud Arbery was killed while running near his home in Brunswick, Georgia. NBC News correspondent Blayne Alexander has been following this case since the beginning and joins us now along with NBC News legal analyst Cevallos. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for being here. Blayne, I will begin with you and where we're at in this trial right now. The defense rested its case Friday. How did they try to prove that this case has nothing to do with race?
Well, Savannah, good morning to you. Really, their central argument all along has been that they did not decide to follow Ahmaud Arbery because of the color of his skin, because he's black, but rather because they thought that he was involved in a number of recent crimes that had happened around the neighborhood. So we've heard from the defense attorneys from their opening statements to the sole witness that they called on Friday, really trying to underscore that point. So the witness, and it should be stated that the prosecution called 20 witnesses to the stand. The defense, all three different defense attorneys, called one for all three defendants, and that was a neighbor, a fellow resident there in Cevallos Shores, who essentially said that back in July of 2019, so that's about 7 months before Ahmaud Arbery was killed, that Greg McMichael had called 911 on a person that they saw living under the bridge, somebody that they believed, in their words, was possibly a sketchy individual, kind of loosely translated there, but that they called 911 on him and that was a white person. So essentially saying that they didn't do it because of the color of his skin, but again, they would be concerned about any person who they thought perhaps didn't belong in the neighborhood. Now, I do want to bring in the fact that one of the things that we saw so much from the prosecution is racist language, racist slurs, other things that were said against black people. During their opening statements, the defense attorney said, you know what, that's reprehensible. There's no defense for that. But that language, while of course it's offensive to so many people, does not prove that they chased down Ahmaud Arbery and ultimately killed him because he's a black person. Savannah.
Danny, let's bring you in here and talk about some of what we've seen or haven't seen so far. The McMichaels and Bryan chose not to take the stand in this trial. What'd you make of that decision, and how do we expect both sides to wrap their cases up today?
Good strategy, because if any of them take the stand, they're going to be cross-examined about these insanely racist, terrible things that they said in text messages and on social media. As to not calling witnesses, there is a jury instruction that specifically tells the jury just because the defense didn't call a bunch of witnesses doesn't mean that the defendants are guilty. And that's because of the burden of proof. I have often called 0 witnesses and rested only on the prosecution's burden, which is beyond a reasonable doubt and my client's presumption of innocence. So that is likely what they're going to argue. And in the case of all these racist messages, be warned, because the defense will argue essentially that, look, these defendants may have said horrible things, but that doesn't mean that on this day they denied Arbery the use of a road because of his race.
Now, Blayne Arbery's family has been in the courtroom for 2 different trials now related to his murder. How's the family doing, and what are they hoping comes of this, and what the impact of this specific trial might be?
You know, Savannah, it's emotional for them. Remember, this is the second trial that they've had to sit through. They sat through the state trial last year. So this is now the second time that they're seeing this evidence of, for instance, their son's bloodied shirt or shotguns, or just kind of hearing again what happened to their son on that day back in February of 2020. You know, hearing from both parents as they've kind of spoken out after different days in court, both Marcus and Wanda say that they have faith. Wanda has said that she has faith that, you know, just as they saw back in the state trial, that this will be, they will essentially be victorious in this, that they will be found guilty in this. But it is something that, you know, when I've spoken with Ahmaud Arbery's mom, Wanda Cooper Jones, over a number of times over the past couple of years, she has really been steadfast in this thing that she wants to get justice for her son. She really wants to make sure the justice is seen through all the way to the end. That means sitting through another emotional trial. That means having these federal charges go all the way through, because she says that's what she promised to do for her son.
Blayne Alexander and Cevallos, both of your experiences and perspectives here are so appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.